If the moon is a massive solid rock so dense and heavy that NASA built rockets powerful enough to land humans on it, then why can you sometimes look up at it during the day and see the blue sky straight through it? Not around it, not beside it, through it. Go outside on a clear afternoon when the moon is visible. Look up, you'll see it. A pale white shape hanging in the sky. And behind it, the sky is still perfectly blue, like the moon is made of glass, like it's barely even there. And I know what you're thinking. That's just how it looks from far away, but hold on, because that explanation is about to fall apart completely. I'm going to show you something in this video that you can verify yourself right now with your own eyes. No telescope, no equipment, just you and the sky. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it, ever. Let's just think about this logically for a second, like really simply. A rock is solid. You can't see through a rock. Doesn't matter if it's small or massive. A pebble, a boulder, a mountain. You can't see what's behind it. It blocks your view. Now NASA tells us the moon is about 2,159 miles across. That is a giant rock, bigger than the entire United States from coast to coast. A solid, cratered, dusty surface that astronauts walked on, planted flags in, drove rovers across. You can't see through something like that. But on certain days when the crescent moon or even a quarter moon sits in the daytime sky, the blue continues right through the darker, unlit portion of it. The sky doesn't stop at the edge. It bleeds through. Scientists call it earthshine, or they say it's just how light scatters. But here's the thing that bothers me. Earthshine explains the faint glow on the dark side of the moon. It doesn't explain why the sky behind the moon still looks like sky. So what exactly is going on? And this is where things get really interesting, because the more you start pulling on this thread, the more things start to unravel. We are told the moon is 238,000 miles away. A solid dead rock, no atmosphere, no light of its own, just floating there in space, reflecting sunlight down to us. Now let's talk about impossible coincidences. There are just some things that honestly don't add up the way you'd expect. But if it's 238,000 miles away in space, why does it look the same size as the sun? The sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, and yet from Earth, they look identical in size, so perfectly matched that during a solar eclipse, the moon covers the sun exactly. That is statistically almost impossible by accident. Think about that. And now here's the part that should really make you stop and sit with this. Nobody alive has ever personally verified any of these numbers. The 238,000 miles, the size, the weight, the composition. Every single piece of data about the moon came from institutions that most people have never questioned. You've been handed a story about the moon since you were in kindergarten, and you accepted it because, well, why would anyone lie about a rock in the sky? But what if the rock isn't what they say it is? What if the transparency you see in the daytime sky isn't a trick of light, but a clue that something about the moon doesn't match the official description? Here's what nobody ever brings up in a classroom. Ancient civilizations from completely different parts of the world, with zero contact with each other, all described the moon as a light source, not a reflection, a source. They didn't describe it bouncing back the sun's light. They talked about moonlight as its own thing, cold, silver, unique. And you know, moonlight behaves differently from sunlight in measurable ways. Sunlight, it warms surfaces, but strangely enough, moonlight in direct exposure has actually been measured to be cooler than moonlight in shade. That's the opposite of how reflected light is supposed to work. If the moon is just a mirror for the sun, why does it produce cold light? You were never asked that question in school, and honestly, that's not an accident. So when you put it all together, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The way moonlight acts. The questions we were never encouraged to ask. Maybe there's more to the story than we've been told. It's worth thinking about, just for a moment, what else we might have missed, just because we never thought to look. Here's the mainstream science answer. The transparency you see is called the ashen glow or earthshine effect. Sunlight reflects off Earth, hits the moon's dark side, and creates a faint visibility. The blue sky around and near it is just your eye perceiving light scatter from the atmosphere. That's the textbook response. Clean, simple, delivered with confidence. But it still doesn't fully explain what your eye is actually seeing. Take a tennis ball outside on a sunny day. Hold it up against the sky. See how it blocks everything behind it completely? Now imagine that ball is over 2,000 miles wide. It should block even more, not less. But the moon doesn't always behave like that solid object. There are clear days where the sky tone behind the dim lunar portion matches the open sky beside it. A solid object doesn't do that. If you just felt your brain shift a little, that feeling is important. That's the moment where you stop taking things at face value and start actually looking. There are more videos on this page that ask the questions they never taught you to ask. About the sky, about the stars, about the things above your head that you've been told to accept without question. Tap the page. Watch another one. Because the more you look, the less the story adds up. And the one thing they never want you to do is look up and start asking why. So keep doing exactly that. If you just felt your brain shift a little, that feeling is important. That's the moment where you stop taking things at face value and start actually looking. There are more videos on this page that ask the questions they never taught you to ask. About the sky, about the stars, about the things above your head that you've been told to accept without question. Tap the page. Watch another one. Because the more you look, the less the story adds up. And the one thing they never want you to do is look up and start asking why. So keep doing exactly that.